Hello, this is Alaskan Bullworm, and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be why you should play on Elys Astra Fantasy Semi-Realism. Now, why should you play on the server? Well, firstly, just mechanically and the amount of features that are available and present is immaculate. You will never not have something to do in the server. And what do I mean by that? Well, firstly, that takes us into our first segment. The stat system and the stat buff system. Now, usually on vanilla and other community servers, the main goal is to get to adult, and essentially after that, you're basically done with the game. Get to adult, and now you just live and fight and kill people and eat until you die. Or maybe nesting people in, and they get to adult and they fight and eat and die. And it's not bad. It's not a bad gameplay loop, but it's a little lacking. It's a little lacking in end game content. Well, I cannot speak. End game content. There's not really much to do, which is kind of a shame because there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential that this game has that it's not capitalizing on, which it's a shame. But the awesome thing is this server actually does capitalize on it. And what do I mean by that? Well, firstly, our first segment, stat buffs. Stat buffs, stat buffs, stat buffs. This server has a bot system, fully automated, where the longer you survive, you get more and more buffs. Like you can see here in the chat, plus buff to combat weight, 10 and 10,000 marks. It's really awesome. So it rewards you simply for surviving as an adult, which is really cool. Another thing too, there is a migration system, which a lot of servers, just Path of Titans in general suffers from the hotspot issue. Not even just Path of Titans, the Isle as well. Just any dinosaur survival game, they suffer from hotspot issues, which essentially just a lot of people just grouping up in a singular area and just sitting there for basically the entirety of their life, I guess, as a dinosaur, and they just don't go anywhere else because, why would you need to go anywhere else? You have water, you have food, and you have a bunch of people coming to one area, such as Grand Plains or Green Valley, and you're all fighting, so there's going to be food. There's not really any reason for herbivores to travel because they can either just eat the food that spawns in, like the collectible items, or just a bush that replenishes. It's like a feeder, basically, from Jurassic World. But this server does not have that issue because there is a fully automated migration system. Now, how the system works is every 30 or so minutes, I really forget, I think it's every 30 minutes or an hour, the migration system will change, and we'll get a announcement in you'll either see it up here in the world announcements, or it'll be in system. Pretty sure it's both. And it'll tell you, one, the current season, and two, the current migration zone. Now, why would you even bother going to a migration zone? Is it just like a suggestion? Well, no. Migration zones have fully replenished water. You get buffs and certain commands that you are able to use in the migration zones, such as already tested these two out earlier. Migration buff. Yeah, it tells me I need to be in the migration zone to use it, but if I was in a migration zone, that would have given me a random buff, either combat weight, a little bit of speed, health recovery, something. Now, another one, as you can probably see here, is migration growth, which is really good for adolescent dinosaurs and just juveniles, anything young if you're trying to grow your dinosaur. You do migration growth, and if you're in the migration zone, you will get boosted growth, which is really awesome. Now, speaking of young dinosaurs, there is a very, very, very intricate nesting system on this server, and I really like it. It's really awesome because outside of just, getting your friends to spawn in the same area as you, there's not really much point to nesting outside of that. But this server, it gives a lot of incentive for players to nest because nested babies, one, they get boosted growth. Two, they also have the chance to spawn with certain mutations that give them major advantages over any other vanilla dinosaur or just fresh spawn dinosaur. You also, if you are the one that is nesting in the babies, if you nest in enough babies over time, you'll be able to unlock a role, and it's called what was it again? I think it's called the matriarch. And let's use my T-Rex for example. Say I nest in 50 babies or whatever over the course of like a couple weeks. I'd be able to unlock the matriarch role. And what this role does is it's depending on your tier, but basically you can have more group members if they are related to you. So as a T-Rex, my max group limit would be, I think it is 2. I can only have one other adult T-Rex in my group. But if I had the matriarch role from nesting in a bunch of babies, I'd be able to have 3 T-Rexes in my group as long as that third T-Rex was one of my babies. Even if it was an adult, like fully grown adult, I'd still be able to have it in my group because I raised it. Now that's very cool. It gives you a lot more reason, a lot more incentive to nest, which is awesome. I really like it. I haven't seen anything like that on any other server. When it comes to mechanics, this server does not disappoint. You get so much variety, you get so many things to do, so much customizability with your dinosaurs, a lot of end game content. It's just really awesome. And that pretty much covers that. Now going into our next segment, the world events. There's not any going on right now, so I can't give an example, and I'm not going to wait an hour for meteors to crash down. But basically, there's a random chance every 30 minutes or so for either meteors to spawn, wildfires to spread, and sicknesses, droughts, anything like that. It makes it really interesting because you never know what's going to happen, and you're not always going to be prepared. So, just gives you another layer of in-depth. That makes sense. It gives you more to survive from, basically, because right now the only threats facing me are other players and I guess food and water. No one's ever starved to death on this game. This isn't an island. Like, there's AI everywhere and water is abundant. So there'll be a mini map that shows me every water source. So you can't die from like food and thirst unless you're very dumb. But with the world events, you can, I don't know, say you're an Argentinosaurus and you're fat and slow and you're out in the middle of nowhere, not near any shelter. Meteors will crash down. I don't know if they kill you. I think Argent might have a level of immunity where it only takes some damage, but smaller dinosaurs will be killed on impact. And meteors will also spawn in the ground and they'll set like everything around them on fire. And if you're near them, you also get set on fire. It doesn't kill you instantly, but you'll be taking damage. You'll get weakened, which is really cool. It's really awesome. I like it. It's very fun. There's always something new. It's very fluid, the gameplay loop, I'll say. It's never static. You're always going to be doing something new, or some event's going to be happening, or you're going to be working to get your dinosaurs some stat buffs and just become the strongest you possibly can. It's really awesome. It's really awesome. And I would love for the server to have a bit more exposure to new players, because it used to be very popular back in the day. It would average like, I think 120 players on the events, and it'd be like number 1 on the server list, which was really cool. I don't know what happened. I think they made some interesting changes that drove a lot of players away, a lot of new players, and only the OGs really stuck around. And it's sad to see. I think the main issue was adding a server password, because a lot of people would join and they start rule breaking because obviously they're new, they don't know the rules yet. And there was a vote that was held, and they voted to add a server password. And I was already thinking, I was like, okay, this is probably a very bad idea, because you're going to drive away all the new players. They're going to see that the server has a password, and they're going to have no way to really get into the Discord or learn anything about the server. And they're just going to be like, well, okay, I can't play on this server. I'm going to play on a different server that doesn't have a password. So all the new players got driven away. All the people who didn't care enough to join the Discord got basically pushed away, so they never got a chance to learn the rules. And it stayed like that for a couple weeks. I think it might have even been a month. But they realized that the server was so dead that they ended up reverting it back, and it grew again for a while, and then I think they re-implemented the password, and that didn't work again. Big surprise, and it drove everybody away, so they took it off, which kind of helped the server. It was averaging around 70, 80 people, but then they decided to add a quiz where you have to pass the quiz with a perfect 100, and it was like 50 questions, or was it 50? It might have been 30. It was 30. Sorry. It was 30. It was a 30 question quiz. You had to get 100%, and what this quiz does is it stops you from growing any tier 5 or above dinosaur. So my T-Rex would not be an adult right now, say if I had 29 out of 30 questions correct. And that was very irritating to a lot of people, so they just left and played on different servers. And they kind of realized that it wasn't a very good idea, so they took it off, but the damage was already done. So the players they up and left. It's very sad to see, because the server has a ton of potential, and I do want to see it thrive and prosper, which is kind of why I'm making this video. So there's a lot more. There's very in-depth profiles, but I'm not gonna go over that right now. Actually, you know what? I'll skim over it. Basically, they're very in-depth, but not in a way where it's like realism servers, where if you don't, I don't know, if you don't decide to scratch it, like, I don't know, some of them realism servers have really dumb rules, like, oh, it's spring and your T-Rex is itchy, so you need to scratch a rock. And if you don't scratch that rock and you get caught by ad, you get banned for like 3 days. That's very stupid. There's no point in that. That's not fun for anybody. But they're in-depth in the sense that you get a ton of unique behaviors and interactions with not only other species, but also with your own species. And that adds a really big roleplay element. And they're not, a lot of them aren't like super duper mandatory. It's just like, hey, you know, this is what your dinosaur does. This is like the behaviors that you should be performing. Like, you're not gonna ban you if you like act the exact way that the optional behaviors tell you to act. There's a couple of mandatory ones, like, oh, if you're a T-Rex, you got rivalry with dinosaurs, just don't like hang out in the same area. You're not supposed to be singing Kumbaya and dancing together. But you know, that's to be expected. But you know, they're really cool. They give you a lot of things to do, and they give the dinosaurs a lot more character than just being plain boring dinosaurs that don't do anything. So it's very good. But that about wraps up this video. I'm doing a giveaway for anybody who does end up joining the Discord. To enter it, just shoot me a friend request or send me a DM. My DMs are always open. The giveaway is closing in 2 weeks, so be sure to get in on it now. I'll be giving away either a gift card of your choice, up to $25, or I'll be gifting Path of Titans. So, yeah, that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you do take away from some of what I said and give the server a chance, because it is a really awesome server. It's really awesome. And I know there are a lot of people who would love to plan it, but they just don't know about it because it has no exposure. And hopefully this video fixes some of those issues. But that's all. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. See you on the server. Maybe. No. Peace.